3, 2, 1.
It's
Blog
5 o'clock.
Radio.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Are you ready for this? Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It's Wednesday, February 10th, 2016, and welcome to the BCS Experience, History, Arts, Culture, and Politics in Review and Discussion. I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. The BCS Experience takes a look at our rich history, African American history. Now, we're going to share with you some known and unknown historical facts and information from the past and connect the dots on how they have impacted on our present day events and how they will definitely shape our future as African Americans in this country and around the world. The BCS Experience, History, Arts, Culture, Politics in Review and Discussion. This is internet radio and will be aired live every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. from the studios of the Iron Metropolis Images on the GoPro Radio Network. You see, I'm really excited about this opportunity to talk to you all across the country and around the globe. I want you to tune in every week on your computer or your phone, and I want you to become a loyal listener. And I personally invite you to lend your voices to this radio talk show to express your opinions on my weekly topics. Now, this is social network radio at its finest. Now, here's the number for you to call in to be a part of tonight's discussion. Call 347-884-9839. Once again, that number to call is 347-884-9839. All right, this week's topic, once again, it's Black History Month, a celebration of known and unknown heroes and sheroes that need to be recognized for their amazing contributions to the rich cultural legacy of African Americans and the African Diaspora. Now, sit back, enjoy, and learn more about us throughout 2016 on the BCS Experience. All right, my show is the new Underground Railroad Express. Next stop is your neighborhood. All aboard to freedom and to freedom land. All right, we're just going to jump right on into this. I've got so much history for you. All right, the date. It's Tuesday. It's February the 8th. The year is 1831. You see, Rebecca Lee Crumpler was born on this date in 1831. She was a black physician and author.
Rebecca Davis Lee Crumpler overcame prejudices and severe constraints to become the first African American woman in the United States to earn a medical degree. She would later secure a place in history with her book of medical advice for women and children, published in 1883. Rebecca Davis was born in 1831 in Delaware and raised by an aunt in Pennsylvania who spent much of her time caring for sick neighbors. I early conceived a liking for relieving the suffering of others, Rebecca wrote. By 1852, Rebecca had moved to Charlestown, Massachusetts, where she worked as a nurse, serving under different doctors for 8 years. From these doctors she received letters commending her to the faculty of the New England Female Medical College, and she was admitted for their 4-year curriculum in 1860. On February 24, 1864, Crumpler and 2 white classmates underwent their final oral examinations. Each of the candidates had done at least 3 years of preparatory coursework and written a thesis. At the end of the exam, the faculty voted to recommend all 3 women for the degree, but noted some hesitation about Crumpler. They made reference to unspecified deficiencies in her work and the apparent slow progress of her education. "Some of us have hesitated very seriously in recommending her," they wrote. Nevertheless, the trustees declared her perfectly qualified for the degree and conferred upon her the title of Doctoress of Medicine. She was the only African American woman to graduate from the college. In 1860, only about 300 of the 54,543 physicians in the United States were women with medical degrees, and none of them were black. The first black medical school in the United States would not open until 1868. But a wider door was opening for female physicians across the country, in large part due to the heavy demand for medical care of Civil War veterans. For poor African Americans, medical care had been essentially non-existent before the Civil War. After graduation, she married Dr. Arthur Crumpler and practiced in Boston for a short while before moving to Richmond, Virginia, after the Civil War ended in 1865. She felt that Richmond would be a proper field for real missionary work. The last quarter of the year, 1866, I was enabled to have access each day to a population of over 30,000 colored. She joined other black physicians caring for freed slaves who would otherwise have no access to medical care, working with the Freedmen's Bureau and missionary and community groups, even though black physicians experienced intense racism working in the South. According to one source, men doctors snubbed her, druggists balked at fulfilling her prescriptions, and some people wisecracked that the MD behind her name stood for nothing more than mule driver. By 1869, Crumpler had returned to Boston, where she practiced medicine in the community where she had been trained. She was known for treating the children of her Beacon Hill neighborhood, often without charging a fee. In 1883, she drew upon her notes from many years of practice and published a book of medical discourses, which she wrote specifically for women and mothers. Crumpler died in 1895, and her achievement as the first black female doctor went unrecognized into the late 20th century. Despite her exclusion from many of the histories of American medicine, one of the first medical societies for black women was named the Rebecca Lee Society in her honor.
Wow, what an opening. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. You didn't know that name, and it was all about medicine. The first African American woman in this country to become a doctor. Thank you, Rebecca. We honor you as a shero and open the doors for so many more. All right, I want to hear from you. Let's connect the dots and make sense out of it all. Let's talk. Call me. 347-884-9839. All right, tonight I have very special guests that are joining us. And joining us in the GoPro studio are my very dear friends and featured call-in guest this evening. That's right, you, my listening audience, with another opportunity to appreciate our rich cultural history and learn how it impacts on our lives today. So open up the door, let them come in. Let's talk. Let's have some more folks come on into the studio. I'm loving it. All right, this is tonight's story on the BCS Experience. You are my audience, and wow, you get a chance to talk more history. All right, we're going to jump right on into it. The date, it's a Wednesday. It's February the 7th, and the year is 1883. You see, on this date, U.B. Blake was born. He was an African-American pianist and composer of ragtime music and show tunes. From Baltimore, Maryland, Blake first exhibited his natural aptitude for the keyboard on a home pump organ at age 6. As a teenager, he played in cafes and brothels, and in 1899, he played his first song, Sounds of Africa, published in 1919 as Charleston Rag. He is connecting with the lyricist and vocalist Noble Sissle in 1915 resulted in a long association between the two entertainers. They were among the first black performers to appear on stage without minstrel makeup. Their show, Shuffle Along 1921, was among the first musicals to be written, produced, and directed by blacks. It featured Blake's best remembered song, I'm Just Wild About Harry, and he's wild about me. Wow. And introduced three entertainers whose later careers would be notable: Paul Robeson, Florence Mills, and Josephine Baker. Now, after Blake and Sissle broke up in 1925, he teamed with lyricist Andy Razaf to write the score to Blackbirds of 1930, which contained the popular song Memories of You. Blake continued his career as an entertainer, making both piano roles, records, and appearing in concerts. Composed new ones, yet came out of retirement in 1969 to record an album. And from there, he resumed performing, giving his last public concert in June of 1982. He achieved his greatest fame when a musical based on his songs, Eubie, opened on Broadway in 1978. In 1981, Blake was awarded the Medal of Freedom. Eubie Blake died February 12, 1983, in Brooklyn, New York. Wow, I'm telling you, Eubie Blake, I had the pleasure and the honor of producing at my theater in Atlanta, Georgia, Just Us Theater, Eubie. I had the original Broadway costumes from Brooks Van Horn. I had a fabulous cast directed by Leslie Dockery was in it, and directed by, let's see, who directed that show? I think it was, I can't think of his name, but Leslie Dockery had a fantastic cast and played at the Piedmont Park Arts Festival as part of my season to over 10,000 people in the park that day who were enjoying Eubie. Fabulous show, great entertainer. And I'm telling you, the music, all the way back from the 1920s, even all the way up through until he died, Eubie Blake, great entertainer, someone who we should honor every single day, a master of the piano and, of course, of the sound that he gave to us all back in the day. Wow, Eubie Blake. So we opened with two great names. One you probably never heard of, Rebecca Crumbler, first African-American woman in this country to become a doctor, and the amazing Eubie Blake. By the way, who I had a couple weeks ago, Bernard Marsh was on my show, who was in the Broadway show of Eubie. And there's a picture of him celebrating Eubie's birthday at that time. I believe it was his 100th birthday. Anyway, Eubie Blake, a great African-American hero of music. All right, I want to hear from you. Let's connect the dots and make sense out of it all. You want to talk to me? Call me at 347-884-9839. Once again, that number to call is 347-884-9839. Now, we're going to take a little break here. And when we come back, oh my goodness, I got history for you. I got some great stuff. But are you ready for this? Anyway, don't go away. We'll be right back right after these very important messages.
Come on.
Yeah.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We are an amazing people. Rooted in Africa, the cradle of human civilization. Descendant of the awesome men and women who made a way out of no way. People steeped in the values of truth, justice, respect, harmony, balance, reciprocity, and order. But 400 years of enslavement, Jim Crow, and racism, fueled by the lie of black inferiority, have taken their toll. The result? Too much pain, too much hurt, too much loss. We owe our ancestors, ourselves, and our children so much more than this. Join the movement for emotional emancipation, healing, and wellness for black people. Go to communityhealingnet.org and take the pledge to defy the lie and embrace the truth. That's communityhealingnet.org. Our children and our ancestors are waiting.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. Hey, I'm Byron C. Saunders, your host with the most. But are you ready for this? Here's my favorite part of the show. I get a chance to say, listen, come on. We need your support. Did you know that the fastest growing network in the galaxy is the GoPro Radio Network? We're listener sponsored. That means you, our listeners, help to keep us alive and keep this radio station and airing of our shows every week. My show, the BCS Experience, happens to be the longest running show on the GoPro Radio Network. I'm going into my 5th season. Starting this month and at the end of February, I will be on the air for 5 full years. Every week, giving you Black history, African American history, here and around the world. And it's so important to note because these are the stories of our heroes and sheroes that you don't get in your schools. Well, celebrating my 5th anniversary, I'm out inviting you to make your history of your own and helping to support this show. Be a part of my history. Be an exclusive sponsor of the longest running show on the GoPro Radio Network. Let's start off with $5. Okay, and the way you do this is you go to GoProRadio.com and then you see that button that says support or donate. Click on that. Make a donation of $5. And for $5, you will be keeping my show on the air. And if you want to give more, there are other premiums that we have that give you benefits, gifts. For $15, you get a chance to get this amazing book, Ministry Begins After the Fall, written by our very own Reverend Dr. D.L.C. Boyce. You know, she's on my show once a month with Let's Talk You, where we get you a chance to get free clinical advice on how to overcome your stumbling blocks. That's very, very important, people. I mean, not only do you get history, but you get support to help you understand and how to become a better you. And for $15, you get this autographed copy by Dr. Boyce herself. I only have a few. This is a limited edition. You can only get it here on the GoPro Radio Network. For $100, you want to give $100 to help keep me on the air? Guess what? You'll get this amazing documentary. It's called The Disappearing Voices, The Decline of Black Radio. It's written, produced by our producer here, Eusavior Washington. Tylon Eusavior Washington. What a producer. The story of black radio, why it is important to our community, and how it is sustained and survived over the years. You get that copy for $100. You get this amazing t-shirt behind me and so much more, and a chance to keep the fastest growing radio and the network alive in the galaxy by becoming a supporter. So I thank you for your support. And by the way, when you click in how much you're going to give, indicate that you want it to go to help support and sustain the BCS Experience. Thank you so very much for your support and your funding. I appreciate that. Thank you for showing me the love so I can continue to show you the love. All right, let's get back to some more history. This is Black History Month, but you know around here, Black History Month starts January 1st and ends December 31st. So it's not just 28 days or 29 days, but here we go. The date It's a Friday. It's February the 9th. It's 1883. You see, Lawrence Nixon was born on this date in 1883. He was a black physician and voting rights advocate. Lawrence Aaron Nixon was born in Marshall, Texas, the son of Charles and Jenny Ingalls Nixon. He attended Wiley College in Marshall and received his MD, his doctorate, in 1906 from Meharry Medical College, which happens to be in Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I was born, at Hubbard Hospital and Meharry College. Young Nixon began practice in Cameron, Milam County, Texas, and in 1909, there were 10 lynchings of black men in Texas, one of which occurred in Cameron on November the 4th and influenced Nixon to become a civil rights advocate. In December, he moved to El Paso. There, he established a successful medical practice, helped organize a Methodist congregation, voted in Democratic primary and general elections, and in 1910 helped to organize the local chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, also known as NAACP. He was married first to Esther Calvin, who died in 1918, and then in 1935 to Drusilla Tandy Porter, who survived him. He had 4 children. In 1923, the Texas legislature passed a law prohibiting blacks from voting in Democratic primaries. Now, on July the 26th, 1924, with the sponsorship of the NAACP, Nixon took his poll tax receipt to a Democratic primary polling place and was refused a ballot. Thus began a 20-year struggle in which Nixon and his El Paso attorney, Fred C. Cronenberg, twice carried their case to the United States Supreme Court. In 1927, in Nixon versus Herndon, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote the decision that Nixon had been unlawfully deprived of his rights under the 14th Amendment. In 1932, Justice Benjamin Cardozo ruled for Nixon again in Nixon versus Condon, holding that political parties are custodians of official power, the instruments by which government becomes a living thing. The Nixon cases were major steps toward voting rights, but there were legal loopholes under which the state and the Democratic Party continued to deny primary votes to blacks. It was not until the decision in Smith versus Allwright ended the white primary that the way was cleared. And on July 22nd, 1944, Dr. and Mrs. Nixon walked into the same El Paso voting place and voted in a Democratic primary. Lawrence Aaron Nixon died on March 6, 1966, as a result of an automobile accident. Wow. And you thought it was all about the voting rights of 1965. You see, my people, we go way back to this voting issue, and that's why it's so critically important to understand why you must register to vote. This is an election year, and if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of Republicans blocking President Obama, then here's the reason why: because you didn't vote. You have got to vote in the elections, both for president and for congressional and local support politicians. Vote Democratic. If you're going to vote Republican, make sure they support your initiatives. But right now, it's time to clean the house. Register to vote, go vote. It's time. As you know, the primaries are ongoing, but it's your power that's needed in the ballot booth. All right, let's keep moving right on along. The date, it's a Tuesday. It's February the 8th. It's 1898. You see, on this date, in 1898, the grandfather clause was enacted for voting purposes. You see, the grandfather clause was a legal or constitutional mechanism passed by 7 southern states during Reconstruction to deny suffrage to black Americans. Denying suffrage means denying the right to vote. It meant that those who had enjoyed the right to vote prior to 1867 or their lineal descendants would be exempt from they were not allowed to vote. Because the former slaves were not granted that right until the adoption of the 15th Amendment, which was in 1870, these clauses worked effectively to exclude blacks from voting and assured the vote of many impoverished and illiterate whites. In 1915, the Supreme Court declared the grandfather clause unconstitutional because it violated equal voting rights guaranteed by the 15th Amendment. And what it comes down to is this, folks. White folks have been dragging their feet and blocking and being obstructive of constitutional law, and it's not just happening as a result of this current administration and the GOP, who have done everything they could to render our federal government and President Obama's initiatives dysfunctional. This has been ongoing. They are guilty of treason and criminal acts of sedition, and it's been ongoing for quite some time. And here's the history. Here's the history that indicates why the Justice Department should be issuing subpoenas for the arrest of those who commit these ongoing acts of criminal acts of treason and sedition. That's all that is, the grandfather clause. And they don't teach all this in history. This is why we're having the struggles that we're having today, because this history is not being taught. This is American history. This is not just African American history. This is American history. And shame on you, America, for not teaching this in our schools. All right, we're going to continue. The education continues right here on the BCS Experience. The date, it's a state in 1907. She was an African American educator. Williams, a native Kansas City, was the only child of John and Effie Moten Brown. She graduated from Lincoln High School in 1923. She chose to pursue a career in education because it was one of the few professions open to black women in the 1920s. After graduating from the University of Kansas in 1927, she remained at the university and earned a master's degree in English in 1929. By the way, I went to the University of Kansas in Lawrence, Kansas. I have two sisters who graduated from the University of Kansas. She began her teaching career in 1932 at Louisville Municipal College, a black liberal arts school and branch of the University of Louisville in Kentucky. She was an assistant professor of English, but later taught German and established a German studies department at the school. Brown married Claude Williams, a principal of Leeds Junior High School, who died in 1937. Williams was also honored as a Fulbright exchange teacher in 1956 and taught English in Vienna, Austria. Williams became an associate professor at the UMKC, that's University of Missouri, Kansas City School of Education in 1958, and was a full professor in secondary education in 1960. The first African American full-time professor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City in 1976, she retired after serving on the faculty for 18 years and was granted emeritus status, the first black person given with this honor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Her community and professional affiliations included the National Council of Teachers of English, the Carver Neighborhood Center, the Mattie Rhodes Center, YWCA, and NAACP. She died July the 7th, 1986. All right, I got one quick one to get in. Most important to Black History Month, because on this date, February the 7th, it's a Sunday, 1926, Carter G. Woodson initiated the first National Negro Week, and in 1972, it was renamed Black History Week. And in 1976, it became Black History Month. During the month, lectures, exhibitions, banquets, cultural events, television, and radio programs celebrate the achievements of African Americans. And we owe all of this celebration of Black History Month to Carter G. Woodson, a hero in our community. responsible for us enjoying this moment of celebration of our heroes and our sheroes of the African American diaspora. Oh my goodness, how we continue to move forward. I got to take a break here, but when we come back, are you ready for this? I've got more history for you. So don't go away. We'll be right back after these very important messages.
Yeah.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
What if you can have an entire team of skilled professionals to help your business grow? Admin, accounts, marketing, and more, but only pay for the exact amount of support you need at virtually the same cost you'd pay for one full-time employee. With Virtual Professions, you can. One contact, one number gets you a team of virtual professionals for exactly what your business needs. It's 1-888-315-VPRO. That's 1-888-315-8776. Or online at www.virtualprofessions.net. Virtual Professions Incorporated, because you mean business.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. Hey, you want to talk to me? Are you ready for this? Well, give me a call, 347-884-9839. We're talking Black history. We just told you how it all got started. Carter G. Woodson, my goodness, literally a hero of heroes. All right, let's get back on the hero track and the shero track. Here we go. The date, it's a Tuesday. It's February the 9th. The year is 1943. You see, Barbara Lewis was born on this date. She is an African-American singer and songwriter. From South Leon, Michigan, Barbara began writing songs at the age of 9 and began recording as a teenager with producer Ollie McLaughlin, who also had a hand in the careers of Del Shannon, the Capitals, and Deion Jackson. Lewis wrote all of the songs on her debut album, including Hello Stranger, and confidently handled harmony soul numbers. Some were backing by the Dells. And more pop-savvy tunes, some of which, like Hello Stranger, were driven by an organ and a bossa nova-like beat. Follow-ups to Hello Stranger didn't sell nearly as well, although one of her singles, Someday We're Gonna Love Again, was covered by The Searchers for a British invasion hit. In the mid-1960s, she began doing some recordings in New York City with assistance from producers like Bert Burns and Jerry Wexler that employed more orchestral arrangements and pop-conscious material. The approach clicked, both commercially and artistically. Baby, I'm yours, baby, I'm yours. Remember that? And Make Me Your Baby were both big hits and both among the best mid-60s girl group style productions. That, as one would expect, gave her sound a grittier approach without compromising the smooth and poppy elements integral to her appeal. It passed mostly unnoticed, though, and Lewis withdrew from the music business after a few other singles. The beach music scene of the Carolinas remains a mainstay of appreciation for Lewis's records, which continue to enjoy popularity and airplay there decades after their original release. In 1995, Lewis sings Baby I'm Yours on the original soundtrack from the Clint Eastwood Meryl Streep movie Bridges of Madison County. Amazing how they can't give us Academy Awards for our acting and artistic talent, but they're always using our music to enhance their very own product. Well, we're going to talk about that later. Super Bowl conversation coming up. But let's keep moving. History, history, history. Black History Month. The date, it's a Wednesday. It's February the 9th. It's 1944. You see, on this date marks the birth of Alice Walker in 1944. She is an African-American author, speaker, and poet. Born Alice Malsenia Walker in Eatonton, Georgia. She was educated at Spelman and Sarah Lawrence colleges. Walker is responsible for a number of writings. Most of her material portrays the lives of poor, oppressed African-American women in the early 1900s. The Third of a Grange, Copeland, 1970, is about the emotional growth of an African-American man. Meridian, in 1976, follows the life of an African-American woman during the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Walker won the American Book Award and the Pulitzer Prize for her best-known work, the novel, that's right, you know it well, The Color Purple, and this was in 1982. Possessing the Secret of Joy, 1992, explores the tradition of female circumcision still practiced in some parts of Africa. By the Light of My Father's Smile, 1998, depicts a Christian missionary family focusing on the relationship between the father and the three daughters and the relationship between Christianity and the spiritual traditions of the African community in which the family lives. Walker's volumes of poetry include Revolutionary Petunias and other poems in 1973 and Good Night, Willie Lee, I'll See You in the Morning, 1979. Her nonfiction works include the essay collections In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, Womanist Prose, 1983, Living by the Word, 1988, The Same River Twice, Honoring the Difficult Essays, 1996, and Anything We Love Can Be Saved, 1997. In 2004, Walker has published her first book in 6 years, Now is the Time to Open Your Heart. Wow, what a celebrated writer she is. Alice Walker. Color Purple, and still rolling strong right now on Broadway with, what's her name? Can't think of her name. Anyway, it's on Broadway with an amazing cast and an amazing story. If you haven't seen it, strongly recommend reading the book. Seeing the Broadway show will only enhance your experiential moment. But let's celebrate Alice Walker, an amazing writer. All right, we got a video. It's a Wednesday, and it's February the 9th, and the year is 1966. See how we've moved forward? On this date in 1966, the Maryland Freedom Workers was formed. It began when 20 black women working as nurses, aides, housekeepers, and kitchen staff walked off their jobs. They were working at Lincoln Nursing Home in Baltimore, Maryland. They contacted field secretaries of the Congress of Racial Equality, better known as CORE, with whom they had met the previous week and told them that Lincoln was on strike and they had named their union Maryland Freedom Local Number 1. They told them that CORE workers had better come down to Lincoln Nursing Home immediately to show the workers how to run a proper picket line. The workers, who made as little as 25 cents an hour and worked up to 72 hours per week, became the source of what they called a new kind of union, the Maryland Freedom Union. The Maryland Freedom Union was founded due to frustrated CORE staff members' failed efforts in helping black women workers for union rights and benefits. They were convinced that the AFL-CIO unions were not interested in organizing black workers, and they were elated with the success of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Mississippi's Freedom Labor Union Project. Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, better known as SNCC, That's the militant arm of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. CORE selected Baltimore as the site of its own Freedom Union experiment. Together, CORE, the Maryland Freedom Union, local churches, and school supporters picketed the suburban homes of nursing home owners and marched on City Hall. By March 1966, they created a union study group on black and labor history, reading A History of Black Struggles, American Civilization on Trial, 1963. They also invited its author, political philosopher Raya Dunyavskaya, that's a Russian name, to lecture at the Maryland Freedom Union, Freedom House, and Dunyavskaya suggestion that the workers view themselves as self-developing thinkers made a huge impact. And after victory, the union began to organize workers in small retail and service establishments in the inner city and won a recognition agreement from Silverman's department store chain. Wow. While it flourished, the Maryland Freedom Union's membership, nearly all black and 90% women, with many recent arrivals from the South, created a union different from the typical AFL-CIO affiliate. Its allure was not solely that it was a union willing to accept them as members. It was that this organization called itself a freedom union and sought to organize low-wage workplaces as an integral part of a movement to change a portion of American society. I mean, folks, you got to really understand the importance of an organization like this. And you don't read about this because in the North, unions were protecting thousands and millions of their members, but most of those were white people. Black members in the AFL-CIO and the unions weren't getting the same treatment, weren't getting protected from for medical benefits, weren't getting protected for equal pay. And so consequently, black workers, imagine you're working for 25 cents an hour. 25 cents an hour. This is in 1966. That's not a living wage. That's a slave wage. And that's what these women had to overcome. And most of this, folks, is at the same time that the voting rights, civil rights movement of the 60s, all impacting all across the nation. We owe a debt of gratitude to these women of the Maryland Freedom Workers. The Maryland Freedom Workers. Wow. A very powerful group of women protecting the right to work, protecting the right to health, protecting the right to vote. This is why these are sheroes. And you don't learn this in your history books, folks. All right, we're going to keep right on moving because we're going to go into this next phase. I want to hear from you. Let's connect some dots and make sense out of it all. Let's talk. Call me at 347-884-9839. Remember, we just mentioned Alice Walker. Well, I'm going to go into my BCS Experience blog news snaps. This is filled with videos and information and little snippets in which we can have conversations about. Do you remember this scene and these profound words about the color purple, love and God, peace and love, always? Play that tape. It's only 51 seconds, but listen to this, folks.
More than anything, God loves admiration.
You saying God is vain?
No, not vain. Just wanting to share a good thing. I think it pisses God off if you walk by the color purple in a field and don't notice it.
Well, you saying it just want to be loved like it say in the Bible?
Yeah, silly. Everything want to be loved. Us sing and dance and holler. Just trying to be loved. Look at them trees. Ever notice how trees do everything to get attention that we do? Except walk.
field of purple. Oh my God. Stunningly beautiful. Alice Walker, that's who we're celebrating today. All right, we're going to have to take a break here. When we come back, I've got more BCS Experience blog news snaps. We're going to talk about it. We got some serious talk coming up in the next segment. All right, if this hadn't been enough for you, stay tuned and come on back after these very important messages.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Why are you paying for radio? Are you serious? GoPro Radio offers content for free. Go to www.goproradio.com and listen to original, irreverent, and exceptional talk shows. It's free. Go to www.goproradio.com now. It's that simple and free. www.goproradio.com. Listen to the voices in your head. Oh, and did I mention it's free? You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
All right, we're back on the BCS Experience. And are you ready for this? This is the last segment for tonight's show, but here are some great videos that I have selected for you during what I call the BCS Experience blog news snaps. Now, several years ago, basketball history was made. Well, President Obama recently delivered a message to the University of Texas El Paso community, and he takes the extra step to honor another African American sports historic moment that literally changed the face of basketball, college basketball in America. Thank you, Mr. President. Roll that tape as he and we honor that great moment in African American sports history.
Years ago, long before the Hollywood movie or the Hall of Fame inductions, a group of basketball players in El Paso, black, white, Hispanic, just wanted to win some games. They did a lot of that because in basketball it doesn't matter what you look like, just that you can play. Now the path to success wasn't usually so clear in the America of the 1960s. So, by becoming the first team to win an NCAA title with 5 black starters, the Miners weren't just champs on the court. They helped change the rules of the game off it. They didn't know it at the time, but their contribution to civil rights was as important as any other. Our progress demands not only Dr. King's, but Jackie Robinson's, not only Rosa Parks, but Aretha Franklin's. Not only household names, but ordinary Americans doing their part in their own lives with their own example. That's what we honor today. A group of Americans who laced up their shoes and moved our country forward. That and a pretty good basketball team. Congratulations on this anniversary. And go Miners.
You don't remember? They beat the University of Kentucky and the great Adolph Rupp, who said he would never, ever, ever have blacks on his team. And they beat him that year, 1966, right there at Cole Fieldhouse at the University of Maryland. Great game. Oh my goodness. It set the tempo for that which was to come of us as African Americans excelling in college basketball. Thank you so very much, Mr. President. You have been right on point. All right, speaking of sports, okay, I got to go there. Yes, last week I said, look out, history was about to repeat itself. You know, the Super Bowl and that Cam Newton would do his thing as Superman. Well, he didn't. It didn't turn out that way. But what really was not so much of an exciting game. It was kind of boring, but defense usually wins. And of course, defense won in the Super Bowl. But it was the halftime show that got all the talk. And the talk was about Beyonce's performance. Now, Beyonce is reaching beyond bump and grind. And the message she delivered at the halftime show, Super Bowl, is coming into a very fine and clear focus. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. Now let's listen to some commentary, because I'm going to come back. I got to rip this one. But play that tape so that we can get sort of the understanding of what went on that night.
Time show today. All the planets were in line for B on Saturday. She released her Formation music video and tour news.
And at Super Bowl 50, she paid respect to the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther movement that got its start just across the bay in Oakland. But not everyone appreciated Beyonce's tribute. Well, if Beyonce wanted to get her point across about black empowerment, she found a perfect platform in yesterday's Super Bowl. Dressed in black leather, military-inspired D-squared in homage, she said, to Michael Jackson's jacket from Super Bowl 27, Beyonce led her ladies into an X formation on the field at halftime. The X perhaps in honor of Malcolm X? Backed up by dancers in afros and black berets, Beyonce's rep said, quote, "It was a celebration of the beauty, unity, and power of the black women in the Black Panther Party to their fight for social justice 50 years after their founding."
The Black Panthers was created as a mechanism of protection for the black community, to protect the community against police brutality.
That's Roland Martin, host and managing editor of News One Now. While Black Panthers came under fire from the government, they also were responsible for many important black social programs.
Yeah, it is corny with that Illuminati mess.
But it's not just yesterday's salute to the Panthers that sparked controversy, it's the Formation music video that Beyonce released a day earlier. Along with the video's R-rated lyrics and middle finger flipping, it features other powerful imagery, including a little boy who gets police to raise their hands in the air.
What's mine?
In it, Beyonce celebrates her black roots and culture and also unleashes her anger about police-involved violence, which had former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani up in arms on Fox and Friends this morning.
Well, not Hollywood, and I thought it was really outrageous that she used it as a platform to attack police officers, with the people who protect her and protect us and keep us alive. And what we should be doing in the African American community and all communities is build up respect for police officers.
Why did Rudy Giuliani mention a black cop in New York who was just awarded $15 million because he was viciously beaten by 12 other New York police officers when he was at home? See, it's amazing how Giuliani always loved to ignore those things.
All right. See what I was saying? And y'all thought it was just a football game? Well, here's a commentary. And now a moment for the truth and real talk about how to interpret African American culture, something white critics have never gotten or understood, and never will, because their view is always through a distorted prism because of our cultural experiences and presentations don't fit their lily white and racist concepts. Now, here's what the critics and talking heads are trying to tell African American cultural and artistic community. Oh, black people, keep entertaining us with your song and dance, but don't you dare infuse your political, social, economic, educational, or spiritual values into the art form. Yowza massa. You know what? My response to you, white critics, and your totally racist commentary, go get the, well, I'm a Christian man, but you know what? Go yourself, all right? That's what I'm saying. The hell with you, Rudy Giuliani. How dare you even try to infuse your racist commentary on an art form you have no notion about? And guess what? The Black Panthers were real. They sustained our community. They gave us free lunch programs. They helped out mothers, and they protected our community from you racist cops. Thank you, Beyonce. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now you go and clean up your own perverted house of art before you attempt to tell my African American cultural community how to and when to and where to and what to and why we decide to share our art form with you and the rest of the global community in the manner that we choose. It's our art form. So get out of my house, all right? Anyway, Black Lives, hashtag Black Lives Matter, and guess what? Hashtag Black Arts and Culture and History Matter. All right? Now, this last piece I'm saluting because I didn't know this. I maybe knew it, but I forgot about it. It's real short. But the right to bear arms and why the Nation of Islam does not carry weapons. Did you hear what I just said? The Nation of Islam does not carry weapons. The Fruit of Islam, that group which protects Elijah Muhammad, that protected Malcolm, that protects Minister Louis Farrakhan, they are unarmed protection. Play that tape. It's real short, but listen to this.
It's not that the American people shouldn't have guns. That's what the Constitution declares. We as Muslims, our leader told us, no weapons. Not even as much as a penknife. Because in our homes, the Nation of Islam has taught hundreds of thousands of people. And in the nation, you never hear Muslim killing Muslim in an argument, because we are taught that it's the truth that settles all arguments. So we don't have a gun to reach for or a knife to reach for. We reach for our intelligence and we argue over the truth. What is the truth? And if the truth is from my wife and it condemns an action of mine, I have to bow down to the truth. I can't raise my fist and strike her because it's against our law.
All this vilification of the Nation of Islam and the people who practice religion, Islam, trying to condemn them because of terrorist acts. Let's get it right. Let's get it real. Let's hear the truth and stop trying to persuade the rest of the world that terrorist actions are only those of those who practice Islam. Christians, y'all are some of the most terroristic groups in the world, still practicing your Christian faith and still oppressing, black people of color all around the world. And maybe y'all are not Christians. Maybe y'all are followers of the Antichrist, known as Satan. Think about that. All right. The BCS Experience, people. Was this a show or was this not a show? It was filled with stuff this week. Lots of history. Hey, the BCS Experience is GoProRadio.com, your social network's live talk radio show. Produced and sponsored by Iron Metropolis Images.
90 seconds.
Tylon, you Savior Washington, my producer. Tylon, you the man. You got it going on, Poppy. I like what you're all about. Fastest growing network in the galaxy. Let's keep it and salute Tylon. Send in them donations. Help keep us alive. All right, Mel Alsop, you're the best engineer mankind has made. I'm telling you, GoPro has never been like this without you. I'm serious, Mel. You my main man. Thank you for making me look good. And all those young, very beautiful interns that are working here at GoPro, thank you for being a part of this fastest growing family. All right, a special thank you to Jazz Lounge Project and Andrew Julian Myers for my fabulous show's theme music. Thank you, Mike Sargent. You brought me all of this. Tune in next week for my show, The BCS Experience, and we'll be on from 5 to 6 p.m. By the way, the lineup continues with The Roll Up. It's hot, baby. The Spotlight with Earl Morgan, Cult of Dusty, Face the Facts, Prince Solomon Carter Amped, and Soulful House Collage. By the way, hey, I'm Byron C. Saunders, and it's been all about the BCS Experience. Now join me next Wednesday, live, when my special guest will be
10
you.
seconds.
my listening audience with another opportunity to appreciate our rich cultural history and learn how it impacts on our lives today.
It's 6 o'clock.
I'm out of here. Peace and love, always.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.